Hey there, film fans. My name is Jeff.
My name is Dave.
And my name is John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right. And to avoid lazy negativity, we've decided to make this a drinking game.
Mm-hmm.
Any negative criticism about a film, while it's obviously allowed and it may happen, it is frowned upon here. So we just very simply play the sound and then we take a drink. And that's how we play the game.
So, pour yourselves a glass and let's give it up for, a film that we are about to talk about whether or not we love this week.
Yeah, well, surprise, surprise. We were back to the cinema, so I have
went
no
to
idea.
The movies.
I have no idea how you guys felt about this film. I hope you guys took no notes.
I did
so
not.
that you didn't light the screen up in
Nope.
front of everybody else there. But before we talk about these movie, let's send it over to John for some shout outs.
These movie.
yeah.
We have a beer sponsor. His name is Carlos Barroso. His handle on Instagram is CBarrosoBar 2019. If you want to give him a follow, some love over there, that is CBARROZOBAR 2019. And if you're digging the music on this episode and every single episode, just head over to soundcloud.com/Dasein-artist, and you can download all the music made by the artist Dasein. And please, as always, like, love, subscribe, review, share, all the things. We are at The Love of Cinema, except on Twitter, we're at The Love of Cinema Pod. If you want to follow us there as well, please hit us up on the socials. We'll get back to you.
And now also every show we've ever done ever is on YouTube, some of them with video.
Yes.
Did you hear that, motherfuckers? Every show we have ever done ever is on YouTube. Follow us there if you want to listen and watch some
right
fun
back
videos.
to the franchise face-off if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is fun. I recommend it. We had a good time. Jeff.
I got
If you
called
want
a
to
lot
know
of
what
names.
the best franchises are, I don't know if we were the best reference, but god damn it, we gave it all. Or gave it our all.
No, they're the best. They're the best. Fuck off.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so we're gonna in our midweek episode. So if you want to go through the feed, if you're listening to this here podcast in the future, we are going to, in our segment, should have seen that by now. We are going to see a movie that came out not too long ago, and our co-host Dave decided to not see it.
I just
That
never got
movie-
around to it.
That movie is
Oh.
called Parasite. You may have heard of it after it won a whole bunch of Oscars. I was actually a little worried myself that it would have the Oscars stink on it, you know, and everybody says something's cool, and then immediately it's like Olivia Rodrigo's driver's license. It's immediately not cool when everybody says it's cool. So we gave it a little bit of a rewatch, and Dave watched it for the first time, and man, he should have seen that by now. So keep your eyes out for that. Also, I'm going to go ahead early and tease next week in this episode because it's very,
Dude,
very
we're
We're
exciting. for me.
excited about it.
Yeah, so coming out in the theaters this week is a movie that Dave somehow already saw because he's a sneaky motherfucker from Australia. He saw In the Heights already in
That's all I have
theaters,
to
and
say
that's
to
coming out. That's coming out this Friday on HBO Max and in theaters at the same day. That is this Friday, June 10th. That is In the Heights. So
In case
keep
you
an
don't
eye
know
on
what
that.
that is, made by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who wrote and created Hamilton, the musical.
Yeah.
So this is his first one. So it's going to be awesome if you don't know the show. It's going to be really good.
And then we are also going to be doing Singing in the Rain, a movie I have never seen. So we're going to have a little bit of a musical week next week. Very, very
Can't believe
excited.
that.
Cannot
Jeff should have seen
wait
that by
to
now.
get into that.
Yes.
All right. But first, we're going to talk about A Quiet Place 2. But as always, people, we need to keep you up to date with what we've been watching. So please stick through this segment where Dave, you tell us what you've been watching. What have you been watching?
Well, obviously this week, because we're doing A Quiet Place 2, I haven't
Yeah.
seen the first one. So I'm
Yeah.
like, well, fuck, I better watch that before I go. And yeah, I rented that and sat down and watched that, and I was amazed. And so I won't touch on it too much because we'll talk about that in a little bit of context with the second one.
It'll come up in conversation.
Yes, it
I
will.
bet.
I also watched Greenland, which is
Nice.
the disaster comet film. That I thought they were going to go bigger, and I'm glad they didn't. It's not quite what you expect. It's not the story you expect. And I finally watched The Vast of Night.
Oh!
Did you like it? What'd you think?
I did not.
Did you dislike it or did you just not love it?
I didn't love it. I had issues with some of the camera grading, and I had issues with like the pacing of it in certain sections. I loved the giant wanna through the town, but
Yeah.
everything else, it just felt like you were waiting for something to happen. So
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Respect.
I disagree. I agree with that. I think I just enjoyed that feeling. So there you go, movie fans.
Yeah,
you
you
can
There you go.
experience
like
the exact same emotion and
you
like or
love the
dislike
slow
it.
build. You love the slow build.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
tension was fun for me.
I'm like,
Not
what is
to
this?
give-
I'm
not to
like,
give
what is
away
this
the
10-minute
goose.
one telling me?
I know
Yeah.
what the fuck are we doing? Not to give away the goose, because I do think everybody should go out and watch this movie. But did you enjoy what? Don't go into detail. But did you enjoy what they did with the special effects at the climax of the film?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I thought that
considering
was tasteful.
yeah, considering how it was made and what they were going for, it was like, yeah, they went
Yeah.
as far as you'd expect out of that.
Yeah.
What I did like, the lead actress who
Oh, yeah.
sat there and
Yeah.
held a one take for 10 minutes of literally just the camera on her talking on the phone to people.
Switchboard, man. I know,
And-
it was so compelling.
And that
Yeah.
was a really good scene. She held that. And it's not often someone can hold a one take that long on their own. So that, like, hats off to that. It, as a whole, I don't know. It was just, maybe I was in the wrong frame of mind, but it was kind of slow for me.
90 minutes
Yeah.
in and out.
No, I feel you. I had a busy week of family stuff, so I'm still going with Mayor of Easttown. I know the finale came out, so I'm working up to that. I'm excited. And I rewatched. I had not seen this movie in like so long. The Devil's Advocate with Al Pacino
Oh yeah,
Oh,
and Keanu Reeves. You guys,
that has some rewindable
Keanu
scenes
Reeves
in it.
is really good in that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Keanu Reeves. I understand maybe you like him or you dislike him, but I was actually really impressed with the work he
Yeah.
did.
When that
of course, Al
thing-
Pacino's great. Of course, Charlize Theron's great.
Yeah, when that thing happens and he
It's
goes, "Whoa!" Oh wait, that's every Keanu Reeves.
Wait,
movie ever.
did you
Yeah.
just quote every single movie he's ever done? No,
But yeah,
honestly,
no,
that was really fun. I did enjoy that.
that's a movie that has some scenes where you're like, "Did I just see what I think I fucking saw?" And you have to rewind it. There's some really
No,
good
yeah.
subtle work in that.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Jeff, you
Nice.
didn't see anything? Did you
I
finish
moved.
Mary
I didn't have
Easttown?
internet. No, because Chloe wants to watch it, so she's catching up. By next week, I will finish it, and I know that it's. I know there's just good stuff coming. I can't wait. So, Mayor this week. Okay, let's get into the show, friends. So we're
Yeah.
talking about A Quiet Place 2. We went to the cinema. We'll talk about that, but let's give you the hype.
The movie.
So this movie was supposed to come out in
Thank
2020.
you, SNL.
This movie was supposed to come out in 2020, of course. John Krasinski co-authored, although it looks like he wrote the script, but the characters were not entirely his own, sure. And then he directed this film, got paid a boatload of money for it. It's meant to be a theatrical release, so he refused to release it in 2020. So they pushed it back a year, and good thing they did, because the whole theater was pretty hyped to see this, I would say. It also co-stars his wife, Emily Blunt. Actually, it really stars his wife, Emily Blunt, as did the first one. And then you have a couple kid actors who are awesome. You have Millicent Simmonds, Noah Jude, and then you have some familiar faces, including the scruffiest I've ever seen, Cillian Murphy,
Yes.
and Djimon Hounsou. You may remember from movies like Blood Diamond and Gladiator. He has a nice little section in here. Scoot McNairy, and a couple other people that I thought I had recognized, but perhaps not so much. The premise, if you don't already know from the first one, is following the events at home, the Abbott family now face the terrors of the outside world. Forced to venture into the unknown, they realize the creatures that hunt by sound are not the only threats lurking beyond the sand path. So just a quick recap about what we're talking about. These potentially alien in nature or of origin creatures only are travel by sound. They kind of look like the weird things from Signs, but also maybe with a little bit of aliens in there. And they hunt you if you make sounds. Everybody has to be quiet as fuck, which is why it's really fun in the theater, seeing a lot of people really nervous to open up candy.
And some people are just not nervous to open up candy
And
at
some people
all.
are not nervous to open up candy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anytime you hear
Yeah.
sound, it scares you way, way more than a loud action movie.
Yeah, I will.
it needs
One
to be
thing I
quiet.
will say about this is the enjoyment of this movie really depends on everyone in the theater behaving themselves.
Yeah. When I
If,
saw
like-
Paranormal Activity, people were shouting and screaming, and then other people were shouting at them to be quiet, and then
Like
that's
if
what I
you're
remember
the,
from the
if you're the
movie.
kind of person who has to comment or talk to their friend or can't resist checking their phone every 15 minutes, this movie is not for you. Do everyone a
Yeah.
favor, stay the
Dave.
fuck home and drop $20 on Cruella.
Dave, do you have
Honestly,
a story
you
to
guys-
tell about your experience?
I,
at the
I
theaters?
actually, it's not that bad. Like my experience wasn't that bad. The guy 2-3 seats down from me, because they social distance in the theater when you book the seats.
Right.
He was constantly checking his phone the whole way through. But at the start of the movie, I had a talker. He was
Oh,
he
man.
was a commentator, and he was like having
Yeah,
That's for those cunts. No, that's for
Yeah.
those cunts. That's for those fucking
I'll drink
assholes.
anyway.
I can't believe they did that shit. Are you drinking for him? What a
Yeah.
man.
so generous.
Because of how this story ends. He like we're in the first scene. The first scene of A Quiet Place goes back to day one. For anyone who's seen the first movie, it starts on day 87, I think it is.
Good choice.
And it goes back to day one. It shows you the beginning, and this guy is commentating to his friend next to him, and I'm like, this is really not going to work when we get into the crux of this, where obviously there's a lot of this film doesn't have a lot of sound going on. Like, this is not going to go well for me, and I'm not going to enjoy this movie. This guy's going to be distracting. And then there's a scene right at the beginning where they get in the car, and he gets out of the car and he walks down to a police officer. And I don't think I'm blowing anything because they've done like scene breakdowns of this online, but an alien just comes out of nowhere and trashes a fucking police car. Mm-hmm. From 2 seats or 3 seats down from me, all I hear is, "Fuck me!" And that's the last thing I heard out of him for the entire film.
Good.
Scared him silent.
Nice. Should we gush that guy? No, I'm kidding. Sweet. Well, all right.
I feel you, dude. Jeff, did you go to the movies for this? You had to, right?
So because of my life of moving, and then I had to go back to New Jersey to get some things, and I went to a party. I saw both of these movies in the last 24 hours. So I actually I saw a 4:15 showing today. We're here at it's about 8 o'clock. So I just saw this fucking movie. I just saw this movie.
Did
Man,
you have time to change your undies?
No, same undies, same undies, and they were soiled. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, it was fun. Initial reaction strong. Really, that's my gut feeling having seen this movie. I really enjoyed it. John, what about you? What was your gut reaction having seen this film?
Me too. I think I remember feeling like the first one was not overhyped, but super hyped. So I went in with super high expectations, and I wasn't disappointed, but I don't remember thinking like, oh my God, I fucking love that movie, but I really enjoyed it. I think this one might be more enjoyable than the first one for me.
If it's not, it's certainly not.
I don't even know.
Like they definitely went up. Yeah.
Yeah, it hangs.
This is my best critique for what I can say. What John Krasinski has clearly proven he can do really well. He's done it twice successfully, I think. He cut all the fat out of what is necessary to, one, tell this story, and two, not overindulge in the pop-out scares, which you're pimped into a million times. That's what this movie is. You know, they are pop-outs, you're in silence, and then things happen. Even if you see something lurking, it's still not totally scary until it attacks. So he weaves his way in and out of that really well. I do think there are some potential things for character development and certain aspects of story that I'll get into a little later that I maybe, because I don't mind a longer movie, I maybe would have enjoyed seeing, but I will still stand by what I said. I don't think it's 100% necessary, and I think he proved to you you're still going to have a good time watching this horror movie even without that stuff that maybe another storyteller, director, writer would have maybe indulged themselves in. I don't know about you guys, but I was intrigued by when Cillian Murphy said, you don't want to know what happened to the people the other people who survived aren't worth saving, or a lot of them aren't worth saving. He's referring to other survivors in this world, and how this
giant steaming pile of foreboding right there.
And it was. And then I feel like this scene where they finally do no spoiler alerts here. They run into some people, and I feel like there was some. I think I would have enjoyed a little bit more of what happens.
Those people are a little bit not fucking well.
Right.
Yeah, it just seemed like that. It felt a little general. And then we finally make it to, again, no hardcore spoilers here, but they finally make it to some kind of hopeful oasis kind of place where there are survivors who aren't, bad people. And I don't know if they explore as much of the freedom of being able to live in sound and have relationships as much as they could have. So when I walked out of the theater, with my girlfriend, I remember just kind of saying, I kind of wanted to see a little bit more of that. But I got everything I was looking for out of A Quiet Place.
They Joss Whedon Justice League you.
I think the timing, though, I love
myself for bringing that up.
Well, I love that. I know what you're saying. But I loved the fact that at the time the movie came in, you're talking about a well-paced movie. We got to wrap this thing up. And also, what it did is it allowed for the parallel scenes where there's two different pieces of action happening at the same time in two different locations that mirror each other. So cutting back and forth, the way that a lot of good action movies do, but like Actually, there were actually three at a time, and then the three turned into two because Emily Blunt was solo,
Yeah.
the son and the baby were solo, and then the Oasis place. So you had three different set things cutting back and forth that were all happening at the same time. And I
And
think
he does that in one,
and
right?
rather like I'm an hour in. I like my short movies. The first one was 90 minutes, made $340 million, probably for a reason. And this one here is already well over $100 million worldwide, and that's in still the pandemic.
I mean, 50 of that is in the US at the moment, just off US cinemas.
I think
Jesus.
it's higher than that. But anyway,
Last time I saw it was 48, like 50.
nice.
Yeah.
I like the fact that we didn't get to celebrate it. The
Right now he's sitting at about 89 grossing in
Yes.
USA,
yeah.
and cumulative worldwide he's almost to 139. So he's
And
doing
these are
pretty
like
fucking well.
The first budget was 17 million. This one's not much more than that. So yeah, they're bankable. No wonder they held out for a year. And then of course I'm sure Emily Blunt's getting her back end, so she doesn't get her natural Disney quote. She's sensational
also,
on this. Okay, yeah, Dave, on to you.
this is a passion project for them as well. So kind of because he wasn't even going to do this.
The second one?
Yeah, he famously said like, I don't want to do a sequel. And the studio's like, no, we've got to do a sequel to this. And they're like, can you come in and like tell us where you would take a sequel? Give us some pointers of where this world would go after this. And so he came in and he wrote down a little bit of thing for them. And they're like, okay, so
What's your number, John? Give us a number. Write it down.
While he's
add
writing
a zero.
While he's writing out a little synopsis, suddenly he stopped and he's gone, oh my fucking God, I'm directing this movie. Because he came up upon how to extend that world. And in my opinion,
That's some psychology from the studio.
Yeah,
there.
they
like,
psyched him. They're like,
just
yeah.
go there for a couple
we're
minutes.
gonna let someone else do it, but can you just point us in the
Yeah.
right direction? Just give us a couple of notes.
By the way,
Yeah.
your household could make $100 million off of this. So come on, let's go.
I just want to say up front, Millicent Simmonds is a fucking outright movie star.
Yeah,
There's no denying it. Like she was promoted to star, like almost star of this film.
Yeah.
Like if not equal Emily Blunt of screen time, and she nailed it every single time. For me,
she's the daughter, the oldest child, right? She's older than the brother. Yeah.
Yes. I was really worried going in that Krasinski wouldn't be able to make lightning strike twice, and I'm just gonna buzz myself for that because I was the worry was for nothing. In my opinion, this guy has nailed it the second time around. There's some like really beautiful subtlety in the writing. Hang on.
Yeah.
And direction. Like they don't spell everything out. There's all this subtext going on. Like what they don't say speaks volumes, especially with Cillian Murphy.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that he doesn't say, and you just get a look and you're like, okay, there's something going on there, and they fill it in later. They do fill in the blanks. There's some really, like, what they don't say speaks volumes, and the discovery on the first floor, later in the film, like, explains the character of Emmett's entire personality without saying a word, and also sets up the climax of the film. So, like, there's all these little things where they're just feeding you, and like you just pick up on it, and you go, oh, that's what that meant later. And it's really well written and directed, in my opinion.
What did you like? What was it like having seen the first one? Because they do, they not a victory lap, but they do the thing that happens in sequels sometimes. But they cold open with either the incident or sometimes even before the incidents. But in this case, they go right to the incident of what happened, and it was cool. I would say, the aliens probably broke out of that spaceship a little quick for realism, but that's okay.
Okay, that wasn't the only spaceship. But
you're right. Okay. How did it work having just seen it with the whole recap and everything? Did it suck you back in, or were you kind of like yada yada
because
yada?
there's a couple of things where they reference stuff in the first movie, but they don't draw attention to the fact they're referencing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like if you hadn't seen the first film, so definitely watch the first film before you see this. But if you haven't seen the first film, you wouldn't understand like the scene where the sprinklers go off.
Yeah,
doesn't make you heave a sigh of relief as much as it would if you had seen that and you know what that means.
Yeah.
So I watching them back to back for me was like watching one really long story that just got better and better.
Nice. I love that. Also 97 minutes, so this thing moves.
Mm.
But yeah, what I really loved about this one is kind of what I was saying before, is that the family was able to split up a little bit more, which they sort of did in the first one.
That was a genius move.
They hugged their property a lot. Like they're not allowed to make noise. And you had the bridge sequence. You had a couple travel sequences, which are really exciting. But it is kind of cool when the family's moving around. And also what's cool about the quiet element where everybody has to be quiet is whenever you hear sound, the other people nearby are going to hear it, So it's like if you're a mom, for instance, I don't know, let's just say Emily Blunt, and you're coming home and your son and baby are in a house and all of a sudden you're hearing noise. All of a sudden you're like,
that's
oh,
bad.
yeah, exactly. And so
And
the
thing is,
cool.
they make you such a part of that world. You have the same reaction she does. It's like, oh fuck, something's going wrong.
Or you're just waiting to see it in her eyes, and of course she's
Yeah.
so good.
Yes. I want to say the one thing I would say to everyone about this movie is this is definitely a film that was made to see in a theater where you can isolate yourself away from the world. Because there's one scene in this in particular where, she wakes up and her hearing implant is gone, and the movie goes totally silent, not a sound. And if you're at home, that's not going to impact you as much. Like the impact in the theater from that, you almost felt like you started to feel uncomfortable. It's like there's no sound happening, there's nothing happening, something's wrong, and I feel like that would lose something at home watching that at home. So this is definitely a film for the theater.
Also, John, you can speak to this, I'm sure. There's something about horror movies have to be acted well. They just have to be. They have to be, because there's some kind of absurdism that you're toying with the entire time. These are the aliens from Signs cut loose. They're not going to explain. They don't do what zombie movies do, which is the zombie movies always bring the military in. And so like you can start asking questions in this, like, why doesn't the military start blasting sounds to attract them all to one place and then nuke them there?
The military was the first to go.
Oh yeah, it's all sure. Yeah, but that's always going to be the answer. But when it comes to this world, it's just these four characters now. It's their world that we're living in, and it has to be acted well. John, did you think the performances hung up?
I do. I think and I remember, I still feel, and I felt the way about the first one. Like I kind of want a little bit more relationships. I think my favorite part of the first one, sorry if you haven't seen it yet, folks, but John Krasinski sacrifices himself for his family, and it was an emotional high point for me. And I wanted him to keep going with the drama of their relationships. So to that point, I think anyone who takes a horror movie seriously as a director, writer, whatever, there is something really respectable about that. They just don't happen as much. And like to what we've all been saying, it's one thing to go to a movie theater and see a slasher movie where it's kind of okay if people make some noise. You're kind of going to listen to audience members scream and stuff. This one, I don't know about you guys, but John Krasinski actually opened my version of my movie. I saw it down in Charlotte, and he was just like, "Thank you so much for coming. This is so cool. I really appreciate it." Which it's kind of like a film festival thing. So it felt kind of personal.
They're doing that with everything at the moment.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, God, for coming out.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I totally agree. The sincerity of the work makes a huge difference. I could not help. It's not that I was not in the movie, but I couldn't help a few times thinking, God, that he's so fucking lucky. His wife is Emily Blunt, and that I guess he's friends with Cillian Murphy, and he got these amazing actors. Because what Dave was saying is true. I'm not calling John Krasinski out, but on the page, those scenes probably didn't read with enormous amounts of tension and drama. That was in the work. That was in the direction, which I'm sure John had in his head. But he knew he had these actors where he could linger when he needed to and just let them tell the story of how afraid they were. Let's be real. There's a lot of scenes in both of these movies where they're acting opposite fucking nothing.
Yeah.
She's in a basement full of water with nothing. There's a little puppet that sticks his head out every now and then. And Emily Blunt's just giving you a fucking masterclass. So yeah, I mean, part of the reason why this movie I think is good, and the series, now we can say that now that the series stands, is because it's always a nice thing when somebody tries to tell a serious horror movie, a serious telling of a horror movie, grounded in good acting. And again, I think she's fantastic. And that kid, you're right, dude, she was wonderful. Again, she was great in the first one too.
Even in this case, like it's not kind of almost even a horror movie. This is like a family sci-fi movie with a horror element. Like the monsters are almost secondary to what happens in that first film. And then you get the same thing a little bit from Cillian Murphy in the second one. And like I got the same when he, like, from the sacrifice in the first one, when he, like, they come back around to the dive sign and it's the only damn sign he knows and it suddenly becomes a thing. And
But couldn't you
like,
imagine? We've seen too many like mediocre horror movies. So no offense to hot mediocre actors everywhere, but replace any of those amazing moments with some random hot person that could have been in a lower budget horror movie, and it would have been cheesy and
Oh, yeah.
bad.
No,
It would,
he nailed it. Like that's
nailed
what
it.
I'm making your point. Yeah, the performances
Yeah.
in this are amazing from everyone.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Why do you think? Go.
Do you think that everybody should have one of those incubators they put the baby in to shut them up? They just slurp oxygen right on their mouth, and it's
Come on,
like,
a suitcase.
baby's acting up, time to shut this baby up.
Put
No,
it in the
dude,
suitcase.
I want to tell you, like the message that comes through loud and clear from this film, boys, for fuck's sake, listen to your mum.
Yeah.
Don't when your mum tells you to stay in the house, don't go fucking wandering off doing your own thing. Stay in the house. You've ruined everything. 2 girls,
Kids, man. Yeah.
keep doing what you're doing. You've got this.
Yeah.
Oh
My biggest
gosh.
thing, what I felt, this last thing I would say, these are John Krasinski's first directing movies, right? He's written,
I believe so,
and
yeah.
produced some other things, but I
Yeah,
think
he
these
wrote
are his
Promised
first
Land
stabs
with,
at
Matt
directing.
Damon before
So
this.
clearly he's skilled. We already knew he was a skilled, talented person and artist in general, but it almost feels like, I mean this with nothing but respect. This is not a negative thing. It almost feels like he was given an assignment in film school, how to draw the tension out of a very simple scenario. And he proved he can do that. So I'm excited to see what he can do with more complicated scripts that are more dynamic with relationships and dialogue driven. Like I'm excited to see where he goes with this, because he obviously showed us he has enough talent to to pull something like this off, which is very grounded in devices. I think a lesser director would have felt like you were just constantly predicting the next scary moment, and you don't feel like that with these. Or even if you do, you don't mind it if you do feel that way.
And I mean, all those things on their own, yeah, you'd notice them, but there's such a connection going on between everyone on screen that it takes the edge off that stuff.
And if
this
he
works.
gets his wife to star in every
care.
one of his movies, I'll be happy.
Like it's one of those things where it's very hard to do. You fucking care about every single person you see on screen. Even Cillian Murphy, at first he's a bit of an asshole, and then you by the time we get to like the end of this film, you care if he lives or dies.
Yeah. That motherfucker's eyes, man. It's so unfair. Whether he's playing Thomas Shelby or whether he's playing Scarecrow, he has these weird eyes where they just have instant pathos. You're like, you're an asshole, and then he looks like a certain way, and you're like, God damn it. We talked about this with Anthony Hopkins versus Frank Langella. I saw Frank Langella do The Father on Broadway, but when it comes to the screen, you just gotta put Anthony Hopkins on this camera, even if it doesn't even even if it looks like he memorized the lines that day.
Yeah,
it's
you
like,
want to
just put a
impress me,
camera
Anthony
on him.
Hopkins? Do Skeletor.
Okay, all right. Anyway, get out of here, Dave. I know. Where'd my phone go? I can't find my phone to buzz you. There's a really funny story about Emily Blunt from the first one, is that John Krasinski wrote this, and he just didn't think that she'd be interested, but he would hint to her, so they were kind of being coy. But then he had another known actress in mind, and they've never said who that was. And I don't know if he ever actually contacted her, but when he felt like the script was ready, he was going to, and he said, all right, Emily, I'm going to do it. This is going to make it real. And then I forget if she said, wait, don't reach out to her, or if he had already reached out to her, but it was Emily Blunt's choice. John Krasinski didn't ask her. She jumped in and said, can I please do this? And what a choice. I mean, she's so good. Everything. I love the, I would love to hear our friend of the pod here, Paul Racy, talk about, because there's a lot of ASL, which was really cool in the first movie, to be able to sign their way through this stuff. It's more and more, we're like, it's really great to see that get represented, because it's fascinating.
Yeah,
it's fascinating to watch. Not I don't mean it to say like I just want to observe these people using ASL from afar and just sort of like clap and golf clap my way through it. I mean, like, it's communication. And it's a fascinating form of communication that every time I see, I'm just like, this is so above me, and it's just so incredible that Millicent Simmonds speaks so much more than I do. You know what I mean? That she's incredible.
Yeah, she's incredible. Inversely to that, the sound mix of this film,
of course,
is also incredible.
So essential.
Like, if you can spring it, if you have A-list or whatever, and it doesn't matter, go and see this in Dolby Atmos, because it will, like, the sound, when the sound is missing, it will add that much more to it, and when the sound is there and those creatures are flying around, you're just gonna it's just gonna add to take it to the next level. I would recommend a Dolby Atmos screening of this one. Spring for it.
He's very tasteful in his like little movie moments with the sound, where he shows
Yeah.
the quiet town, and you don't know if it's before or after the incident, the event.
Yes.
And a truck, you find out it's his truck from the first movie, comes in, and there's just this like sound, and it's like you probably would have heard the truck coming a little bit, but when it enters the frame and the sound hits, it's like one of those. But you know what? It's one of those movie moments
you
that I
just
think
reminded me.
it was just super.
No,
fun.
there's a reason for that. Like, he works with sound envelopes. Like, you don't hear a person until you're within their envelope as such. Like, when you go into Reagan's envelope, everything drops out. When you go into someone else's envelope, you get what they're perceiving. So basically, until you enter the truck's envelope, you're not getting the truck. So he works with sound envelopes in this.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
John, what were you saying?
Again, it just kind of feels like that assignment kind of thing I was saying. Like, I think he clearly showed he has the ability to do it. I do think there were a few moments for me, and I remember feeling this way with the first one, where the design and the music, which is, a fun kind of score, it doesn't sound like music all the time, where I feel like he was earning something that maybe somebody else would have taken a little more time with. And I felt like there were a few moments that he kind of rushed for me. All in the spirit of trying to get it in under 140, which again is fine. We love a tight horror movie. So I'm more than anything, as much as I appreciate these movies, I think I'm more excited to see what he does in the future than I will be to rewatch these films, if I'm being totally honest. I think he showed me that, sure. I don't even know if that's a criticism.
No, it was for the earlier. The question, I didn't want to interrupt you because you were making a really good point. The question I feel like we should ask is, do you think there'll be a third?
I think the way it ended, yes.
No. See, this is what I'm talking about. He has so much talent. Let's not make him make a third Quiet Place. Let's let him keep going.
Well,
Spread
then
your wings,
he
John
won't do
Krasinski.
it. He'll do. John Lasseter did not make Cars 3. He passed it off to somebody, his AD or something.
Yeah. So we don't need. But that means that we don't need
true?
a third, then, right? Because
That
John,
is
this
true,
is from the mind of John Krasinski.
I mean,
right?
I would be very happy to just let these two lie, and like this is a complete story. But
I think so too.
I mean, I feel like there is one more story because they've introduced that tribe.
Sure.
And I feel like there's one more story to tell, but I don't know.
Yes, but what did Walking Dead teach us? Stop when you're at a high point, right? Like, there's so much you can do with these kinds of.
Walking Dead did not stop at a high point.
Yeah.
They had 10 seasons
That's
and a
what I'm
spin-off. Get the
saying.
fuck.
That's what I'm saying.
Walking Dead taught us don't fake out your audience.
Guys,
They really
that's what I'm
resent
saying.
it.
I think they went too far, right? They went way too far
Guys,
with let's see what happens to the survivors. Like,
I'm not saying John Krasinski and Emily Blunt are shallow. I'm just saying if you can make $100 million, you think about it.
That's the thing,
We're
though. He wasn't even going to make the
for
second
a
one.
year. Like,
He was literally not even going to make the second one until he realized he had a story to tell.
Look,
And
I'm
for
sure
him,
Jack
that's
Ryan
important.
and Mary Poppins Returns is paying really
How
well.
about
But
this?
I'm just
How
saying,
about this?
you open your ears when something like that happens. I'm
all right,
sorry,
how about
you
this?
do.
How about this? If he sits down with, I can't remember who produced this, but if he sits down with the studio, I hope he says, "Let me make something else, and then we can talk about the third one." And I hope he does.
Yeah,
So he
something
does
that'd
a
be
little
really nice.
conversation,
Yes.
Godfather 2 kind of thing.
Yeah, I want him. Yeah, exactly. I think he's earned it.
Yeah,
And I
as
think
long as
we
the
all wanna
conversation's
see
not
what he
let me
does
make
next.
Godfather 3.
Oh,
Fuck
yeah. All
Jesus.
right.
Nobody buzzed me for that, really?
No.
Come on, motherfucker.
I can't find my phone. Where? Oh, here it is. Yeah.
Anyway,
Somehow we
super
didn't get a
fun.
gush alarm on this one today, but this movie's fun.
I mean, we probably should have, because I don't know about you, but I love this film. Go and see this film.
That's
Absolutely.
funny. You
go
know
and
what,
see this
John?
film.
Maybe I will rewatch it. Although I did not rewatch the first one for this. Maybe that's a good sign. That
You do love a tight movie. I could see you wanting to hit
Dude,
it up one day.
I rented
Why do
A
you
Quiet Place
say
Part
it like
1
that?
this
When
week,
you
'cause-
say it like that, it sounds dirty.
No, I just don't think there are not many
Oh my
adult dramatic films that are under 140 that are great. And I think name one right now. Name one right off the top.
No.
Nope, can't do it.
Nope, can't do it.
Okay, you're right.
No one can do it.
You know what,
Yeah.
John? Last one for the road. There you go.
All right. thank you,
Okay.
thank you.
Any other meat on the bones that you guys want to get to? Shout out to Djimon Hounsou one more time. I'm glad that he was available for this.
I do want to make just one last comment. I did for anyone. We said the movies. We're making a joke about the SNL thing, the Vin Diesel spin a sketch about how he was saying, "Welcome back to the movies." Fast 14 is coming or whatever.
Look it up on YouTube at the same place you can find us.
It is really funny.
Yeah,
I will
that's
say
right.
I went to a theater in the middle. I usually tried to go to the theater when I lived in New York, either in the middle of the day or late at night, because apparently assholes like to see movies in prime time. And this is a perfect example. I agree with what Dave said, but shut the fuck up when you're in a serious movie. I did have a frustrating experience with a few moments where people were just talking behind us in the middle of total quiet parts. It's like, just don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
So as excited as I am that the movies are reopened, I also understand why some people can't fucking stand going to the movies anymore, because there are a lot of people who are rude.
Maybe there's just guys, fucking behave yourself.
Yeah,
fucking behave yourself in the movie. Go to the movie, sit down, shut up, watch the movie.
All right, we'll leave it there. This is fun, guys. Go see the film. It's not going to stream anytime soon, so go to the cinema, go see it. Midweek episode, we should have seen that by now, Parasite for our friend Dave.
I will say, also, just as a footnote, if you are nervous about going back to a cinema at this point, I recommend a matinee, because I had
it was great.
8 people in my cinema. You can, they block out the seats next to you. Go to a matinee if you're nervous about edging back in. But yeah, definitely go to the movies.
Yeah, you also get the jumps. I got the jumps, and I had 8 people at my matinee as well. All right, so friends, Parasite coming, and then next week, stay tuned for In the Heights, and which we might even release early because it's coming out this week, and we're recording early this week. So let's see, wink, wink. True. I'm making that decision on behalf of our co-host here. So In the Heights and Singing in the Rain coming next week. Thank you so much for joining us, film fans. We will see you soon.